Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the All About Aristotle podcast. I'd first like to introduce the concept of that which we'll be discussing, followed by a short run-through of the game plan and how often I intend on uploading. I'd first like to provide some cursory details about me. My name is Keegan Brady. I enjoy reading, jazz, and nature. I conceived the idea of this podcast after a minor Aristotle obsession in 2020. I'd read quite a few modern philosophical books at this point, including the works of Kant and Schopenhauer. However, shockingly enough, I realized one cannot truly grasp a thought unless you become aware of its predecessors. So I turned to the works of Plato. Any reader of Plato would agree with this statement that his works are not comparable to modern philosophical treatises. For one, they're structurally different. While the dialogic format of Plato's works resulted in some unrivaled achievements in literature, such as the strikingly beautiful structure of the Symposium and the awe-inspiring chronicles of the life of Socrates, Phaedo in particular being a tearjerker, one cannot help but feel Plato's structure and rhetoric are somewhat alien. Typically, one thinks of philosophy as a somewhat detached franchise, aimed at categorizing and elucidating the nature of ethics, knowledge, and of course reality. The method of syllogistic analysis has some resemblance to the works of the pre-Socratic philosophers, but truly the first body of work which adheres to the modern standards of philosophical conduct would be the bibliography of Aristotle. While today we may think of other philosophers before we think of Aristotle in terms of the importance to the field, Aristotle was nearly synonymous with the study of philosophy for the better part of its existence. To this day, a large portion of philosophical lexicon is derived from Aristotle, not just philosophy. While today we have some important distinctions between philosophy and science, this is a somewhat new concept. Philosophy has traditionally encompassed other fields, including biology, physics, and rhetoric. And all these fields can generally be attributed directly or indirectly to Aristotle. It has been said that Aristotle not only influenced Western thought, but founded it. However, the history of Aristotelian thought is more complex than this. For most of ancient philosophy, Aristotle was not that large in influence. What caused this fluctuation in Aristotle's importance? To the point that he went from zero to the hero of medieval thought. We shall cover that in a later episode, but I'd first like to mention a somewhat ignored group of interest, the Arabic translators. Not only did these translators provide the Latin West with Greek thought, but they also contributed a wide array of ideas of their own. For this reason, I'd like to add a disclaimer. This podcast will, surprisingly, not only be about Aristotle. We will need to investigate some of the influences of Aristotle first, and we'll also be studying the various interpretations, rebuttals, and defense of Aristotle's thought throughout the millennia. For this reason, we shall be discussing his life, his influences, and the political and social climate surrounding his times, and we'll also be surveying his own personal life. We'll be looking at a brief review of the influence of his thought and how it was preserved until this day. That would be the first season. For the second season, we'll be looking at his works. We'll be going over the major concepts located within his works, and we'll be analyzing them accordingly. For the third series and beyond, if we get this far, we'll be looking at the commentaries and inspired works. So we shouldn't really be viewing this as merely a series of one man. Rather, we'll be viewing how various societies, religions, and philosophical sects interpreted the immense contributions of Aristotle. We'll even be viewing his influence on the various fields of the sciences he founded. The series will be either weekly or bi-weekly, and by weekly I mean twice a week. I haven't figured that one out yet. My email will be located in the description, as will my Instagram. And I apologize, I'm not really good at speaking, if you can't tell. So, it's probably going to take me a few episodes to get used to this whole recording thing. Anyhow, I'll see you guys next time. And for the next episode, we'll be looking at the social, religious, economic, and political climate of 4th century BC Greece.